Hello, welcome to Block 4, Place Value, Ordering Integers and Decimals, Lesson 13. I'll share my screen. So, in your previous lesson, you learned how to use comparison operators or the less than or greater than sign to compare numbers. You also learned how to order numbers by taking really good look at their place value. In today's lesson, you're going to learn how to round numbers to one significant figure. But before we start, it's really surprising that thousands of people are learning from these videos, but they are not yet subscribers. So I want to ask you for a favor. If you're watching right now, like the videos, share it with your friends, subscribe by clicking this button. You'll find it in your channel, in your YouTube account. Click on that and click on the notification bell so that when new videos are uploaded, you'll be notified. If you do this, it's my promise that we will continue to create more high quality teaching videos to meet our mission of educating the global population of children. Thank you. Before we start, I would like you to do the retrieval practice questions in 5 minutes. Assuming you've paused the video and you've answered these questions, here are the answers. Let's discuss them. For the first one, we were asked to round 471 to the nearest 100. 471 to the nearest 100 is 500. Well, we could think about it this way. We could say 471 is closer to 500 than 400. So that number rounds to 500. Another way we could look at it is we are interested in that. Yeah, we're rounding to the nearest 100. We're interested in that digit because it's the 100 digit. Its place value is the 100 digit or the 100 column. We look one place to the right to see whether the number there is greater than or equal to 5. If it is, that digit we're interested in increases by 1. And then the other digits now are now in zeros. That's why we have 500. We use 0 as a placeholder. If the digit was less than 5, then we would ignore increasing this. We'll ignore these digits, they become 0, and that would be just 4. And that is what has happened here. So 8,349 to the nearest 100 is 8,300. We're interested in this. We look at this one to see whether it is up to 5 so that we can increase this digit by 1, but it's not. So this will stay the same and these digits will be 0. That's why we have that. So we can use either the one that I used before, which is looking at whether it's closer to the next 100 or the next higher 100 or the next lower 100, or we can use this method I used just now. Now, these ones are the answers, okay, using the same approach. Let's do some learning. Before we can round numbers to one significant figure, we must be able to identify the first significant figure of any number. The first significant figure of any number is the first non-zero digit, looking at the number from the left. Okay, from the left. So if we do that, 2 is our first significant figure for this number. 4 is our first significant figure for this number, 4,105. 2 is our first significant figure. Now here we have 0 as the first digit, but the first non-zero digit is the 9. Here we have 0.0601, but the first the first non-zero digit in that number is 6. So now that you know how to identify the first significant figure, let's round this to one significant figure. Well, we can use the first approach that I showed you when we did the retrieval practice. We could say 4,271 is closer to 4,200 is closer to 4,000 than to 5,000. Okay, 4,271 is closer to 4,000 than to 5,000. So this number will round to 4,000. And this is the number line approach we could use. Or we could use this approach to say, well, I'm interested in this. Let me look, because this is my first significant figure, let me look at what's next to it to see. Let me look at what's next to it. Let's use a different color. Let's use, I like blue. Yeah, let's see what's next to it to see whether it is less than 5. If it is, we don't need to do anything. Yeah, so everything else will become 0 and that number will stay the same. But if it were greater than 5, if it were 5 or greater than 5, it means we'll increase this first significant figure digit by 1, while everything then becomes 0 as well. Okay, so we'll just stick to one method, but you should know I'll use the quicker method, which I've shown you, but you should know that we can use this method that is right here using the number line method. And then when we write it using this symbol. So you can see this sometimes in textbooks or in the exam. So we write 4,271 is approximately equal to 4,000 to 1 SF. So that means significant figure. Okay. What about this one? What is different? What is different? Well, not much. The thing is, the 4 has now changed its place value. So here, the place value of the 4 is in the hundreds. Is the first non-zero digit. We can use the same approach to say, well, just looking to the right of the 4, we can see that it is 2. So this, we're interested in this. We look at this one to see what's going on there. Well, it's not up to 5, so we're going to ignore it, and this will stay the same. So we can write 0.04. But somebody might say, okay, this is the number line method showing here. Somebody might say, but oh well, it means my answer will be 0.040000000. Yeah? It doesn't really affect the place value of what the 4 really is. I mean, 0.04 is not much different from 0.04000. It doesn't affect the value, place value in any way. So we will just stick to writing it in the correct way, which is to keep our answer as 0.04 to 1 SF. Okay, pause the video and have a go at these really quickly. So you write the place value of the first significant figure of these numbers, and then you round the numbers to one significant figure. Okay, assuming you've paused the video and you've worked through this, here are the answers. Interesting, isn't it? Using that method I showed you, you could actually just look at the numbers and spot how to round to one significant figure by just looking at one digit to the right away, checking whether it is equal to 5 or greater than 5, so that we can increase the digit, which is the one significant figure digit, or if it's less than 5, the first significant figure digit stays the same and everything else is 0. Yeah, and you can see that's what's going on here. Okay, so what we've learned so far is that you must identify the first significant figure of any number before you can round to one significant figure. Pause the video and answer question 1 in 3 minutes. You can take longer depending on your pace of working. Okay, here are the answers. Celebrate your success. Well done. Pause the video and answer question 2 in 3 minutes. Assuming you've paused the video and you've worked hard, here are the answers. And you can see that using that quick method, we can round to one significant figure even by just looking at the numbers. We can do them really quickly. Well done. Celebrate your success. Here is the question. Here is question 3. Pause the video and answer it in 2 minutes. Here are the answers. So Alex is right. Sorry. Yep, Alex is right. Here are the questions for question 4. Pause the video and answer them. Assuming you've worked through this, here are the answers. So these numbers could have been rounded to one significant figure. Here are questions 5 and 6. Pause the video and answer the questions. Here are the answers. So here, again, using the approach, we're interested in this. We look one place away, which is this, and we see that, well, it's greater than 5, so we can increase this digit by 1. And we can just write the number as 0.09. We don't really need to write it as 0.090. It doesn't really affect the answer much. Okay, and these are the other answers. By now, you know how to round to one significant figure. Clap for yourself. Pat yourself on the back. Well done. But let's do some more learning. Sometimes you can be given questions where you've done the real hard work of working out the answer to the question, but in the end, they would ask you to write the answer as one significant figure. Now, this gets interesting. Do you remember algebra? You remember? We found it again. You see why understanding algebra is really important? We found it again. You can't escape it. So whenever we see letters next to each other, it means they're times in each other. You remember? All right. So this is the same thing as this. So you can now use a calculator to do this. And then once you've got your answer, you can round this to one significant figure, which obviously will be 200. Okay. So you could have done this really quickly. You spotted that, well, you can use number line, but I did this a long time ago by just knowing that 2 is my first significant figure. And then when I look at the 1, the digit next to the 2, that's to the right of the 2, it's not up to 5. So I know that the 2 will stay the same and every other digit after that will be 0. So it's 200. And that's our answer. Sometimes when you round numbers, their place value could be, or the number that you get could be as if you have rounded the number to the nearest 100 or the nearest 10. So here are questions for you to do that will show that this is the case. So pause the video and think, which of these numbers that would you round to one significant figure that will give you the same value as if you the same value that you would get if you round to the nearest 100? Well, it will be helpful to put it in a table like this and to work through it. So I'll give you time to do that. Pause the video and do it in 2 minutes. Assuming you've paused the video, here are the answers. And you can see that these are the numbers that round to the same value as when you round to the nearest 100. Okay, before you have a go or before you practice what you've learned so far, here is what we've learned so far. We've learned that one, sometimes you can be given problems to solve, and then when you finish solving the problems, the answers you get, you will be required to round those answers to one significant figure. Or sometimes you could round numbers and find out that the numbers have the same value as if you have rounded the number to the nearest 100 or nearest 10. Okay. Pause the video and answer questions 7 and 8 in 3 minutes. Assuming you've paused the video and worked through that, here are the answers. Let's discuss them. Here you ask, Tommy rounds this number here, okay, this number to one significant figure. How could Tommy improve his answer? Tommy does not really need the zeros, okay, after the 4. It's good enough to be 0.004. And then here is the answer to question 8. By now, you know how to round to one significant figure. Great achievement. Well done. Here is question 9. Pause the video and answer questions 9 and 10 in 3 minutes. Assuming you've worked really hard at this, you've answered the questions, here are the answers. And you can see why, okay, because of how we could round the numbers. Okay, that brings us to the end of our lesson. So far, we have learned that to round to one significant figure, you must know how to identify the first significant figure in any digit. After you have identified the first significant figure in the digit, a quick way to do it is you can look to the right of the number to see whether the digit to the right of that number is up to 5 or greater than 5. If it is 5 or greater than 5, it means your first significant figure digit can be increased by 1, and then every other digit after it becomes 0. If it is not up to 5, it means your first significant figure digit stays the same, while every other digit after that first significant figure digit becomes 0. Until next time, take care and bye-bye.